to start with the most classic of afternoon tea cakes, Victoria Sponge.
Oh, I love Victoria Sponge. How classic is it?
It's very traditional Victoria Sponge. It's believed that Queen Victoria was made Victoria Sponge to coax her out of her grieving for Prince Albert. And the recipe first featured in Mrs. Beeton's book of household management, which was published the year that Prince Albert died in 1861.
So basically this is a misery cake. To get Victoria out of her misery.
Oh, it could be a cheering her up cake.
A happy cake. So what do we do?
Okay, well, the first thing is that we are going to make sure our butter's really, really soft. Do you want to just double check yours there? Nice and squidgy.
My finger, presumably.
Well, no, we can do it, because then you'll know for future. You see, I always check it's really squidgy.
Ooh, that is squidgy.
Very squidgy like that. Now, if your butter's hard, then a good tip is to fill a bowl with sort of warm, hand-warm water and pop your butter in chunks into that. And it softens really gently. You know how when you put it in the microwave or you put it on the back of the stove, it just goes completely oily. So this is just starting to soften now.
That's
and this
amazing.
was rock hard. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes. Don't let the water be too hot, because if it is too hot, then you get the oiliness seeping out of the butter. That's really good. And then all you need to do is just drain it through your fingers.
Right.
And then pop it into the mixture as you would normally.
It's very exciting.
So we've got 175 grams of butter. So do you want to pop that into your bowl? Okay. And we're going to make this by hand together today, because I think it's really useful to know what it needs to look like at each stage. Do you make Victoria Sponge?
I do make sponge. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but my sponge always comes out of the oven looking a bit sad. You know, in the cookbooks it's like yay high, and mine's always a little anemic.
Well, I hope that's not going to happen today. We're going to make sure this is perfect Victoria Sponge.
Excellent.
So really soft butter. And then we've got caster sugar. So 175 grams of butter, 175 grams of caster sugar.
Equal amount butter, sugar.
Yes, and we're going to use the same amount of flour in a minute as well. Now what we're going to do to begin with, you know how in cookery books it says cream together the butter and sugar. We're going to do that now by hand, and I think the best way to do that is a balloon whisk. So if you just want to scrape off your on the spoon, brilliant. And what we're trying to do at this point is we're going to get as much air as possible in the mixture. So you talked about your sponges sometimes being a little flat. This is to give extra lift, and it's really important that you get the lift in at this stage. Sometimes people think that you don't need to get the air in until you add the eggs, but I think if you add it in now, you get an even fluffier cake.
See, I think I'm cheating at this early stage, because I never really cream it that much. I'm always like, oh.
Well, I think we're often rushing quickly. I'm going to make a cake, and actually what's lovely is if you get it right and then it's perfect, you feel much more satisfied about the whole process.
And it's good exercise. It gets rid of the bingo wings.
And then we have an extra large piece of cake. And it's also really important to use caster sugar, because you want a nice fine texture to your cake. And if you use a darker sugar or a granulated sugar, it doesn't always give that lightness. It's easier to incorporate more air if you've got caster sugar.
They always say it has to look pale.
Well, once you've whisked it and really creamed it together, it does start to go a paler colour. So let's see if we can do that. I'm going to pick mine up. Is yours starting to go paler? Yes, it looks beautiful.
That'd be a really pretty colour for a kitchen wall. Lovely, cream colour.
Yes.
So is that the desired consistency?
That looks beautiful. And does that look the same colour as your cakes would normally look at this stage?
No.
Eggs. We need 3 eggs.
Right.
So let's break those into the bowl, shall we? I tend to break them into a bowl first, because it's really annoying if you then get a shell into the mixture trying to scoop it out. And it also means that you can just give them a little stir up before they go in, break up the eggs a little. Very good.
So I break it up a little bit?
Yes, a fork or just the palette knife, just so it's broken up a little bit before you add it to the mixture.
How do I stop it curdling?
Well, some people say to add a little tiny bit of flour. I tend to find that if you just push on through the whisking it up. Let's try it now and we'll see. So, don't add all the egg at once.
Yeah.
Okay, I always say once the egg has disappeared, then you add some more. So let's just add a bit, about that much to begin with. And we're going to do the same, whisking this in. Beautiful yellow eggs.
You can tell a proper egg from the colour of the yolk. That is amazing.
And if you're making it in a mixer, the other thing that sometimes happens is that you need to scrape down the sides.
Yeah.
So if your butter's quite hard, you'll notice that it clings to the sides of the bowl, and that's why you want it soft as well, so you incorporate all of it. So have they disappeared? Beautiful.
Yeah. Oops.
And this is also adding air to the mixture and will make it lift even more.
Right.
So if you keep on pushing on there now, see, should move on to the next stage as you add more air.
So I shouldn't panic
No.
if there's a tiny
Did you
bit
see
of a
them?
curdle.
Yes.
Yes, I just carry on going. I
Push
ignore
on
it.
through, and now you've got a lovely consistency again. Okay, and add
Keep
the rest of
calm
your egg.
and carry on.
Now, it doesn't harm to whisk that a little bit longer as well. So if I was doing this in an electric mixer, I might leave this whisking while I weigh out my flour. How's it looking? Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Beautiful. Now for the flour.
Right.
We need to make sure we use self-raising flour.
So if I've been using plain flour with baking powder, that's not enough.
No, it won't give you enough lift. Might be the answer.
That is the mystery solved. Wrong flour.
You just need more raising agent than that. So self-raising flour already has the raising agent included, but you're adding more baking powder to give it the extra lift. So when you talked about them looking a little bit more lifted than yours, maybe this will be what sorts it. So the combination, the air here, and then also the self-raising flour, we may have it cracked. So the other thing that's really important, we're going to get you to weigh the flour. We need to be really careful with baking, that we're very accurate with our weighing, and I think digital scales make a huge difference.
Yeah, I see at home I just got one of those really old scales, and you don't really know if it's 175 or 200. It's difficult to get precision.
And that can make a big difference. So then the weight of the flour may mean that the eggs can't lift it up, so you then have a flatter cake as well.
So I need to be getting myself an electric digital scales.
Well, I think it does make a big difference. Okay, so here we go. Right, so we need 175 grams.
175. Wow. 460. This is like, when you fill your car up with petrol and you try and get it exactly on 20
The challenge.
pounds.
You'll be like this now with baking. You'll think of me.
Yes, on the nose.
Perfect. Okay.
Should I sift mine in first?
Sift yours in first.
And I can just add it all at the same time?
You add it all at the same time and sift it. That's great.
There you go.
I would add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder to the mixture. And it's really important to use measuring spoons. So a level 1.5 teaspoons. It can make a real difference. And sometimes it makes your cakes taste a bit...
See, mine sometimes come out and they taste like bicarbonate of soda.
A bit fizzy.
Yeah, a bit fizzy.
And that's maybe because you've just sort of put a scoopful in. And it just tastes a bit strong. You shouldn't be able to taste it.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't make it go bubbly. It should just be enough to give it a bit of an extra lift.
So, and then I just
knock it,
knock it.
That's perfect.
And then there we go. That one? Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Perfect. Now we're going to move on to using the big metal spoon. Because we've put all that lovely air into the mixture when we've been whisking, we don't want to knock it all out. That's another reason why your cakes can go flat.
So if you use a wooden spoon, it knocks the air out.
It does, because it's thicker and heavier.
Right.
So a nice thin side, or you could use a palette knife, big palette knife.
So now I just gently fold.
Fold it in. I think it's going to be delicious. That's what counts.
Or cake, cream and jam. How could you go wrong? Even if it's slightly flat, it still tastes good.
Well, traditionally, Victoria Sponge was with raspberry jam and with caster sugar on top. But I thought today we would do it with strawberry jam and then maybe some lovely whipped cream. How's that? That looks beautiful.
Perfect.
Just make sure you've got all the last bits in and you scrape down everything from the sides. It's horrid when you get a little pocket of flour or butter that hasn't been mixed in. And can you see how light and fluffy it still looks? Beautiful. I think we're done.
Excellent.
So, cake tins. Do you have cake tins like this?
Yes, with loose bottom.
And what we've done is we've just lined it with a circle of baking paper at the bottom and then lightly buttered it on the outside. Not too much butter, otherwise it tends to get that crispy.
Do you do that thing of knocking a bit of flour?
You can do that if you haven't got baking paper.
Right.
That's a really good thing to do. Yes, so put the butter around, put some flour in and bang it out. Yeah. So we want to put about half the mixture in each tin.
Right.
We can just dollop it in to begin with. And then I always smooth the top with a palette knife.
Right.
Just to flatten it down. Not really roughly, just gently.
So would Mrs. Beaton have used exactly the same ingredients?
I believe so, yes. And hers were called Victoria sandwiches in her recipe book. Such simple ingredients. You think all we need is eggs, butter, sugar, flour. There we go. You could also add lots of different flavours to this mixture. So if you're happy that it's got the lift that you like and that it's the taste that you like, you could add vanilla, or you could add zest of a grated lemon, or zest of a grated orange, or some cocoa, or some melted chocolate. And then you've got a lovely base recipe that you can use for lots of different things.
So this is the basic sponge recipe, so you can adapt this to make any kind of sponge-based cake.
Yeah.
So this is the building blocks of cake.
This can be your building blocks, yes. For cake making. Oh. So almost licked. I think you should.
I should just try it, shouldn't I?
Yes.
That's really yummy.
Fantastic. So now we need to put these in the preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes, but make sure you don't open the oven door while they're in there.
Ah, that could be another problem. I'm quite impatient, so there's often a little bit of looking through.
Peeking.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing. It makes your cake sink in the middle. So you need to have the even temperature all the way through the cooking. If it gets to the end of the 20 minutes and you can peek through without opening the door to see if they look done.
Right.
If they look done, then take them out. Just check whether the surface feels firm. It's not sort of wobbly underneath. And perhaps pop a skewer in. And if the skewer comes out clean, perfect.
You're in
Take them
business.
out.
Excellent.
So we've baked them in the oven for about 20 minutes and they're lovely and golden. Left them in the tin for about 5 minutes just to settle a little because sometimes it might break when you're taking it out. And they're now on the cooling rack. Are you pleased with them?
I am pleased as punch. Look at that.
They look beautiful.
Mine are usually slightly burnt and half the size. These are really, they've got a nice rise on them and they're golden brown.
Let's see them. Lovely and springy.
And springy. I mean, this is a whole different cake.
Fantastic. Right, now traditionally, in Queen Victoria's time, Victoria sponge would have been just sandwiched with raspberry jam.
The Victorians had no fun. So there was no cream or buttercream?
No cream or buttercream, just raspberry jam in the middle and then sprinkled with caster sugar on top. So we're going to do it slightly more summery and slightly more special. We're going to have our elderflower cream and we're going to have some strawberry jam.
Right.
So shall we start with the jam? So let's pop our first cake.
So, here. Oh, and this would be a disaster if it broke now. Oh, look at that.
Well done.
I feel like I'm on Blue Peter. This is an exciting moment.
It looks beautiful. And then some of our strawberry jam.
A generous amount?
I quite like a generous amount, I think, if you're going to put it on. And then it's also quite nice, I think, that when you sandwich it, if it starts to sort of run down the side and ooze out.
You can really smell the strawberries. Yum, yum.
Lovely. Lots of pieces of strawberry. The other thing you can do to make it even more summery is you could slice up fresh strawberries if you knew you were going to be serving it immediately. And that's rather lovely for a tea party as well.
So it doesn't matter if some sort of dribbles down a bit?
Well, I think it's nice to have a little bit. Some will get pushed down a little bit with the cream. So if you just nudge it up to the edges like this, when you put the cream on, it will start to drizzle down.
This looks really good.
And then we've got our cream. So do you want to go first? So what I would do is I would probably, shall I show you?
Yeah, actually maybe you should go first.
I don't think it really matters, but I would sort of just dollop it a bit around the edges so we don't have to spread the jam too much.
Spread the love.
It smells delicious.
So elderflower, could you put anything else in? I mean, what if I wanted a ginger cordial or?
You could do that, or you could add in some vanilla pod, some seeds from a vanilla pod, or if you were making a lemon cake, it might be nice to add a little bit of lemon zest into your cream.
That'd be really good.
It's just very fresh and sort of summery. Now it's probably easier to use your palette knife if you've got your larger one, just to ease it out.
Is there a particular technique to this?
Well, just don't push too hard because it's all going to slide off if you push too hard. So I would just sort of ease it like this up to the edges. So you're keeping quite a thick layer, but you're not pushing all your jam off. Sort of a bit of a circular movement like that.
Oh, I suppose.
Because you want it to still look quite like it's got the lift of the cream. If you make it look too flat when you put the top on.
I'm always squidging things down. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Perfect. Do you want to just nudge it a tiny little bit more up to the edges?
Right, yeah.
So try not to flatten it, but sort of ease it. That's
There
it.
we
Perfect.
go.
One useful tip is when you turn your cakes out onto the cooling rack, they're often upside down, and you get that sort of lined crossover mark from the cooling rack on top of the cake. So it's quite nice while they're still warm just to flip them back over, and it means that we have a nice, smooth, pretty top. So we're going to pop those on now to the top of our cake.
I've had some seepage issues.
It looks lovely. And you don't want to press it down too hard, just gently rest it on top. That looks absolutely beautiful. Lovely. Now what I thought we'd do on top is, rather than putting on just cast sugar, icing sugar, I thought we'd do something a little bit pretty. So I've got some little cut out paper shapes here. Lovely hearts. And some little butterflies. I'm just going to pop those on. To do them so that they're the folded side. You know, so it doesn't point up. That's perfect. Yours is perfect. They don't bend.
I would never have thought of that.
Otherwise they lift up. And you could ice the top of your cake and, you know, put cream and strawberries on top of your cake if you wanted. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do that over the top. That looks beautiful, with icing sugar. There we go.
I don't want to be too heavy.
No, that's gorgeous. You want it to look nice and white. Oh, lovely. Lovely. And then we've got some little tweezers.
I was
just
wondering
very
what the
carefully
tweezers were for.
going to lift your little shapes off.
You need the hands of a surgeon for this.
It's such a quick and simple way, though, to make a sort of pretty decoration on top. Or you could put a few edible flowers.
I love edible flowers. Which ones would you use for edible flowers? Because obviously I don't want to go into my garden and start...
Well, spring flowers are the best, really, because you've got all the sort of primroses and violets. But then in the summer, you've got daisies and pansies. You can eat those. And some little herb flowers, like borage flowers.
Oh, that would be
really
nice.
pretty. Just always check beforehand, or you could put them on and just say, we're not going to actually eat the flowers, even if you wanted to put like a few rose petals or something pretty on the top, and then take it off before you serve it. That looks so pretty.
I'm very happy.
Well done.
Thank you, Miranda. It looks considerably better than anything I've done prior to this.